Hey everyone, I am Tasha from Issa Yoga Vibes, and I would like to thank you for joining me today or tonight, depending on what time or where in the globe you are located in. But I would like to thank you nonetheless for holding space with me today. Today's flow is what I will be calling a transformation flow. And for the reason for that is that I'm doing a yoga teacher training, and one of my requirements is to host karma yoga classes. So for today, I call this my transformation flow is because I am going to be transforming from a yoga student to a yoga instructor or leader or teacher, whatever it is that resonates with you and the title that I bring in. That's what I'll be transformation in. And I would like to take you with me along the journey and see how our bodies feel after this flow, and kind of check in with our bodies. We're going to continue to check in with our bodies. We're going to continue to check in by using our breath and focusing on our mantras, our affirmation, our intentions that we are setting. We can begin to just settle our breath. Let's begin to soften our gaze. Breathing in through the nose and out of the mouth. Continue in that manner. We can add a mudra, bringing our middle finger to the thumb and holding it here. Just allowing our bodies to feel grounded and feel welcome. Just check in with our bodies, seeing how our crowns are feeling, how our shoulders and neck is feeling. Begin to kind of roll down the shoulder so it's not tensed up. Relax the shoulder blades, relax the spine, but sit upright. If you feel any tension along the hips and the hamstrings or your knees, you can grab your blocks and just place it underneath that area, just so it could release that tension if you need. But just pay attention to how your body feels and make those adjustments. Now we're going to set our intention for our practice. Our intention is just there to remind us and keep us focused on ourselves, and whenever we feel like we don't really feel as if we're not safe or stable, we just keep our minds on focusing on the breath as well as our intention or even an affirmation. So my affirmation during this beginner's power yoga is that I feel supported and I am safe. So as you continue to breathe in through the nose and out of the mouth, just repeat the affirmation to yourself. And on our next inhale, let's get started by doing our warm-up. So from here, we're just going to plant both of our hands onto the mat. Start by lifting your right hand up to the sky. And we're going to turn towards the left side of the mat, bringing our left hand behind our backs and the right hand on the top of the left knee. Breathe in here. Begin to feel that stretch along the side and the spine. On our next inhale, we're going to return to center, and let's bring our left hand up and over our head, reaching to the right side of the mat. Let's breathe into that nice stretch. And on our next exhale, we're going to just return back to center, bringing both of our hands onto our knees and add in some cat-cow stretches. So let's inhale and round the spine towards the back of the room. Breathe out, bringing your chest and your crown up to the sky. Feeling that double stretch. Breathe in, rounding your spine towards the back of the room, sending your gaze towards the mat, and breathe out. Let's lift our hearts and our crowns up. And on your next inhale, return to center, and this time we're going to lift our left hand up towards the sky. And we're going to turn towards the right side, this time bringing our right hand behind our back, placing the left hand on top of the right knee. Taking in a deep breath in this nice spinal stretch. Breathe in through the nose, out of the mouth. Let's breathe in and return back to center. We could bring both of our hands up. Planting them onto the knee, we're going to take our right hand up and over our heads. You could plant your hand on the side of the mat as you lean towards the left side. Breathing in and breathe out. And let's return to center and add in some more cat-cow stretches. Breathing in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. And just check in on everyone. And we're going to just breathe. Do a couple of more. Breathing in, rounding the spine. And let's breathe out, lifting our hearts and gaze up. Breathe in and breathe out. On your next inhale, let's return to center, allowing our bodies to just relax. We're doing some normal breathing here. Let me just remove the block and meet me in downward facing dog. From here, planting both our hands and our feet, sending our hips up to the sky, pushing our hips back. Let's begin to walk our hands and our feet towards each other and rolling up one vertebrae at a time, going into our mountain pose. So we're just going to breathe here. You can add some movement to your shoulder. And then we're going to just start our sun salutations from our mountain pose. Let's bring both of our hands up to the sides of the mat, parallel to the mat. Continuing to bring our hands all the way until we interlace the fingers. And let's start adding some side stretches. First coming towards the right side of the mat. Breathe in, coming center, Breathe out, going towards the left. Breathe in, going into our star pose, bringing our feet hand distance apart. We're going to send our hips down as if we're going into chair, bringing our hands up, bending it at a 90-degree angle in a goddess pose. Inhale, let's send our hips back up, bringing our hands parallel to the mat. And then we're going to go into a side stretch. Let's point our right toe to the top of the mat, sending our right hand towards the mat, keeping our left hand up towards the sky. And now let's turn our hip towards the front of the mat in our pyramid pose. Now we're going to walk our hands back to center, coming up one vertebrae at a time, bringing our feet together in mountain pose. Let's do that again, bringing both of our hands up until we are able to clasp our fingers together. And let's start by stretching over to the right side. Let's breathe in, coming to center. Breathe out, going to the left side. Breathe in, we're back into center, extending both of our hands and our feet in star pose. Going into goddess pose, bending the knees, sending our hips down, and bending our elbows at a 90-degree angle. You can send your gaze up to the sky. Breathe in, we're going to lift right back up to our star pose. And then turn towards the left side, bringing your hand towards the mat and your right hand up to the sky. On your next inhale, we're going to bring both of our hands towards the mat. And let's begin to walk our hands back to center and roll one vertebrae at a time. And now we're going to bend our right knee, going into a lunge pose, scooting the left leg out. Breathe in here. On your next inhale, we're going to send our hips up and scoot our left leg and extend it as if we're going into a half split. And hold here. And on our next inhale, let's begin to bend our right knee at a 90-degree angle, lifting up into our warrior one. And breathing here. On your next inhale, let's straighten the right leg, sending our right hand back onto the mat. Let's inhale, we're going to bring both of our hands onto the mat, folding over in this pyramid pose. Next inhale, let's begin to walk our hands up to a wide extended angle. And then we're going to begin to roll up one vertebrae at a time. And heel toe our feet together, back in mountain pose. How does that feel? How do you feel? Check in with your body. Are you ready for the next step? So let's go back into our downward facing dog. Keeping our hands parallel with our shoulders, our feet parallel with the hips. Send your hips back so that your heels could kind of touch as close to the mat as possible. Let's hold here. Going to begin to walk our hands and our feet until they meet. And begin to roll one vertebrae up at a time. Back into mountain pose. This time we're going to bend our left foot at a 90-degree angle, scooting back our right leg and holding here. On our next inhale, we're going to send our hips back and slide or scoot your left foot towards the top of the mat, as if we're about to go into our half split. And let's inhale, bend the left knee back in that 90-degree angle. And then tuck the toes, send your hips up, going into Warrior One. Breathe in here. We're going to straighten the left knee and send our left hand onto the mat, keeping our right hand up towards the sky. Let's inhale, bringing both of our hands onto the mat in this pyramid pose. And let's inhale, begin to walk your hands back to center. Going into a wide extended pose. And slowly begin to roll one vertebrae at a time. We're going to heel toe our feet together until we get into mountain pose. Whew. How does that feel? Just check in with your body just to make sure that everything is well, everything is fine. This is a beginner's course, so I'm really going to just slow everything down, make sure that we are in this together. So on our next inhale, let's extend both of our feet, hands distance apart. We're going to go back into a extended wide angle. So let's begin to fold over at the hips until our hands touch the mat. You're welcome to grab your blocks and bring the floor closer to you. And we're going to inhale and walk our hands towards the right foot. You can hold on to your ankle or place your left hand onto the mat by your foot and bring your right hand up to the sky for the added stretch. And let's bring both of our hands back down, coming to center. And now we're going to walk towards the left side, leaving your right hand on the mat, sending your left hand up to the sky, and holding here. Let's breathe in, returning both of our hands onto the mat, walking towards center, holding here in this extended wide angle pose. And let's inhale. We're going to just stay right here and keep your left hand on the mat or your blocks, but send your right hand up to the sky. Let's inhale, placing your right hand on the mat, and now sending your left hand up to the sky. Inhale, let's bring both of our hands back together and begin to walk your hands as close to the back of the room as possible. Or you could just hold on to your blocks and hold here for added stretch. And on our next inhale, let's begin to walk our hands to center, and one vertebrae at a time, begin to come right back up. Now we're just going to turn our hips towards the top of the mat, making sure that your right foot is pointing towards the top of the mat and your left foot is at a 90-degree angle. We are going to begin to fold again at the hip and bringing our hands back onto the mat in our pyramid pose. Inhale, we're going to just bend the right knee, turning our left foot to also point towards the top of the mat, planting both of your hands onto the mat in a runner's lunge. Inhale, we're going to now turn our left foot back in a 45-degree angle and straighten the left leg. Going back into our pyramid pose. Let's walk our hands towards the middle or center, and let's begin to bring our bodies up to mountain pose. Bringing our feet towards each other. And just check on everyone to see if they are feeling good. Okay, so let's start this on the left side. Bringing both of our feet hands distance apart. We are going to fold over at the hip. Let's walk our hands over towards the left foot. Keeping our right hand onto the mat, sending our left hand up to the sky. Breathing in this stretch. Let's breathe in, bringing both of our hands back onto the mat. Walking our hands towards center. Walking our hands towards the right foot. Keeping our left hand onto the mat, sending our right hand up to the sky. Breathe in here. Let's inhale and bring both of our hands back onto the mat. And we're going to walk our hand to center. And then walk our hands towards the back of the room. You can hold on to your blocks. Continue to breathe. Let's inhale and begin to walk our hands back to center and roll one vertebrae at a time. Let's turn towards the left side. I always forget. We got to do both sides of the body. Turning our left foot towards the top of the mat. We're just going to fold until both of our hands are on the mat or they are on our blocks. Now we're going to pivot our foot, our right foot, in a 45-degree angle And we're going to bend the left knee at a 90-degree angle. And you're welcome to use your blocks or bring your hands. Kind of scoot your feet out towards the left side of the mat just to make some space for our bodies. Well, let's inhale, begin to straighten our legs, walking our hands towards our bodies, holding this pyramid pose. We're going to walk our hands back to center, and this time just adding a side stretch in this wide leg angle pose. We're going to breathe in, plant both of our hands onto the mat, and bringing the left hand up. Continue to breathe. And let's inhale, bringing both of our hands back on the mat. And let's begin to lift up, rolling one vertebrae up at a time. Slowly going into downward facing dog. Planting both hands and feet onto the mat. And from here, we're going to slide our crowns up, going into plank, bending at the elbows, lowering onto our bellies, untucking the toes, lifting our crowns and our hearts up in an upward facing dog. Inhale, we're going to send our hips up into a tabletop. And let's continue to send our hips all the way to our heels in Chalice Pose, lowering our crowns onto the mat. Take a couple of breathers here. On your next inhale, we're going to come back to tabletop, adding a few more cat-cow stretches. So begin to inhale, dropping the belly, and exhale, rounding the spine towards the sky. Inhale, dropping the belly, sending our gaze up. Exhale, rounding the spine towards the sky, sending our gaze towards the mat. Inhale, dropping the belly. And exhale, rounding the spine. And on our next inhale, we're going to send our hips back towards our heels, going back into a Chalice Pose. You're welcome to continue to walk your hands as close to the top of the mat as possible, lowering your crown onto the mat. You're welcome to add your block underneath your crown to bring the floor towards you. Now we're going to come up into tabletop, starting our thread the needle pose, bringing the right hand up to the sky, giving it a little shake. And then we're going to thread it right underneath our arms until our shoulders are onto the mat as well as our crown. Sliding our left hand as far above our heads as possible. Allowing your body to relax. And on our next inhale, let's begin to release ourselves, returning back to tabletop with our shoulders above the wrists, our hips above the knees, And let's go back into a child's pose. Just to breathe here once more and relax the body. Inhale, let's go back to tabletop. Adding some cat-cow stretches, dropping the belly as we inhale. Rounding the spine as we exhale. Breathe in. And breathe out. Now let's tuck the toes, sending our hips up to the sky, going into downward facing dog, ensuring that our hands are parallel to our shoulders, our hips parallel to the ankle. From here, we're going to just bring our left knee to the top of the mat. Placing our hands onto the mat, scooting back the right leg. And let's inhale, sending the hips back and sliding the left leg as if we're going into a half split. Inhale, we're going to bend our left knee at a 90-degree angle. And then we're going to send or float our feet back to meet each other, sending our hips back into downward facing dog. Sliding our crowns up towards the top of the mat, dropping our bellies onto the mat, untucking the toes, lifting your crown and heart up in upward facing dog. From here, let's send our hips back into a tabletop. Let's make sure that our wrists are parallel to the shoulders, the knees parallel to the hips. We're going to add some cat-cow stretches. Breathing in, rounding the spine. Breathing out, dropping the belly. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. From here, we're going to go into a downward facing dog, sending our hips up to the sky. Sending our hips back towards the mat, the back of the mat. And now let's glide our crowns towards the top of the mat, dropping our bellies onto the mat, untucking the toes, lifting our crown and heart up, and our upward facing dog. Sending our hips back up into tabletop, and then we're going to send our hips all the way down and into Child's Pose. Begin to walk your hands to the top of the mat so that your crown can touch the mat. And continue to breathe here. And now let's go into tabletop. And this time we are going to take our left hand up to the top of the sky, give it a little wiggle, and thread it right underneath the right arm until our shoulders is onto the mat and our crowns is on the mat. Sliding the right hand above our crowns, allowing our shoulders and our crowns to melt onto the mat. on your next inhale, let's begin to release ourselves and come back into our tabletop. Let's add some more cat-cow stretches. Breathing in, rounding the spine. Breathing out, dropping the belly. Breathe in and breathe out. 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 And return to Child's Pose. And let's just relax for a couple of breaths. You're welcome to widen the knees as much as possible. If you need to accommodate or make yourself feel a little more comfortable. From here, we're going to return back to center in our tabletop. Lifting our crowns and hearts up. We're going to go into a camel pose, so just begin to lean back until your hands touch your heel, or you can grab your blocks and hold the pose like this as well, allowing your crown to drop behind you. From here, let's just lift our right hand up to the sky, continuing to allow your crown to drop behind you. And let's inhale. Bring both of our hands back onto the heel or the block. And now we're going to just send the left hand up to the sky. And hold here. And let's inhale, bringing both of our hands back onto the heel or the block. Or you could just place your hands on your lower back and kind of lean back as well. And let's begin to return back to center. I'm going to move my blocks out of the way, and we're going to come back to a staff pose. So just meet me in a seated position with both of your legs extended out. And let's add a side stretch here. So let's first start by planting our left hand onto the mat and bringing our right hand up and over our heads. You can bring your left hand out to the outside of the mat so you can add that stretch. And let's inhale, bringing our right hand to the outside of the mat and our left hand up and over our head. Continuing to breathe through that stretch. And now let's return to center. I'm going into a half lowered fish. We're going to bend the right knee and bring it over the left leg. And then, take our left hand and bring it to the outside of the right knee. And send your right hand behind your back and your gaze along with it. And just breathe here. And on our next inhale, let's begin to release ourselves. Give your legs a little shake. Let's bend the left knee this time. You're going to bend the left knee and then bring that foot over the right leg. Just take a right hand, put it on the outside of the left knee. Taking our left hand behind our backs and sending our gaze towards it. And we could just hold here for a few breaths. On our next inhale, let's begin to release ourselves. Give our legs a nice little shake. And from here, we're going to do a, a head to knee toe kind of pose. So let's start by taking our left knee and bending it, tucking the left foot underneath your right leg. And from here, we're just going to keep our hips straight directly towards the right foot. Take our hands and begin to walk it all the way to holding either your ankle or the soles of your feet. Or you can hold on to your big toe. You may also grab your strap for that supported stretch. Just placing it underneath the soles of your feet and then walking your hands along the strap. And with every inhale, just begin to lower your crown towards the knee. And let's inhale, walking our hands back towards our bodies. Extending both of the legs, giving it an added stretch. And now we're going to bend the right knee, tuck that underneath the left foot. And we're going to do everything all over again, walking our hands towards the left foot, grabbing the ankle or the soles of your foot for an added stretch, or your big toe, or grabbing your strap for that supported stretch. And on our next inhale, we're just going to walk our hands back towards our bodies, extending both of our legs, giving it an added shake. And we're going to go into a supine position, rolling our spine onto the mat, one vertebrae at a time. And first, let's start by bending the right knee towards the heart and taking both of your hands, placing it on top of your calves and just holding it here. Allowing the mat to kind of massage the back as you breathe in and out. On your next inhale, just give your leg an extra squeeze and send it back to meet the left foot. Give your legs a little shake. And now let's begin to bend the left knee, kind of grab the calves, bringing it as close to the heart as possible. And just holding your leg here. This is a great relaxed hip opener if you feel a lot of tightness along the hips. This is great to do, especially in bed. Let's breathe in, giving your leg one more squeeze. And let's send our left foot to meet the right. And now we're going to bring both of our knees towards the heart, taking your hands, holding both of your calves, kind of adding a little back massage by swaying from side to side. You can begin to roll your hips in a circle of motion, moving your legs and your knees in that circle of motion, and kind of giving your hips a massage along the mat as well. And let's inhale, giving our legs one more squeeze, showing us and our bodies that extra love. And we're going to extend both of our legs out directly in front of us. We can begin by bringing both of our hands, palms facing down towards the mat, going into Savasana, taking this time to recollect our bodies and settle our bodies for just a few more moments. Just check in with our bodies, making sure that we are still okay, we still feel supported, and we're still feeling safe, as we said earlier in our mantras. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out of the mouth. So we're going to begin to return to our normal activities. And let's slowly and gradually begin to bring energy back to our bodies. Let's start by imagining that burst of energy on the soles of your feet, going to your ankles. Imagine that burst of energy going towards your knees, up to your hips, all the way around your spine, to your shoulders, all the way up your neck, your jawline, your eyebrows, to the crown of your head. With every inhalation, we're just going to begin to roll towards our right side of the body, taking our left hand, placing it onto the mat, allowing ourselves to push up into a easy seated position, allowing the blood to flow all the way throughout our bodies as we adjust from coming from Savasana and going into our active movement. Begin to flutter open the eyes, breathing in through the nose once more and out of the mouth. Relaxing the shoulders. Breathing one more time. And I hope that you feel a lot more supported in this nice flow that we have for beginners. I hope this was helpful for you as it was for me, and I enjoy our time together. Thank you once again for participating in my class, and enjoy the rest of your day.